Welcome to the deep dive. We take a whole stack of sources, dig through them, and pull out what you really need to know fast.
Helping you get informed.
Exactly. So today we're plunging into something, well, fascinating and honestly pretty wild, a social media storm.
Mm-hmm.
It kicked off with an American Eagle ad, you might have seen it, featuring the actress Sydney Sweeney.
Right, Sydney Sweeney.
And the ad had this clever little pun, "My jeans are blue."
Okay.
So, referencing the denim jeans, obviously, but also playing on genes, Genes, genetic inheritance.
Ah, okay. Genes and genes. Got it. Sounds kind of smart, actually.
That's what you'd think. But, the internet pretty much immediately went into meltdown mode.
Really? Over that?
Oh, yeah. Intense backlash. People were throwing around accusations like Nazi propaganda.
Oh, good. That escalated quickly.
And that it pushed Eurocentric beauty standards. Why? Because it featured a blonde, blue-eyed white woman.
Just for featuring her.
Apparently, social media users started calling the ad a dog whistle. One of those coded messages.
Right. Understood by a specific group, often pushing some hidden agenda.
Exactly. They said it was a dog whistle for eugenics and racist ideology.
Heavy stuff for a jeans commercial.
Totally. But see, this isn't just about the ad. We're using this whole thing as a launch pad.
A starting point.
Yeah, to explore some really big, complex ideas. Things like narrative, perception, cultural identity.
Even where our ideas about beauty come from.
Right. And how public conversation today gets, well, sometimes manipulated.
Sounds like a deep dive, all right.
It is. And it's based on a thorough look at excerpts from a source called Beauty, Identity, and Controversial Narratives. So let's get into it.
Okay. What's really striking, I think, is how fast something that seems kind of harmless on the surface can set off such a huge reaction. It pushes the whole conversation way beyond just being mad about an ad.
Yeah, it becomes more philosophical almost.
Exactly. It gets into how we all see reality, through our own subjective lens.
And that lens is shaped by the stories we tell ourselves.
Precisely. The narratives we buy into, personally and culturally.
So the outrage, it's not really about the ad itself, but the story someone layers on top of it in their own mind.
You got it. It reminds me of that Shakespeare line, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Perception defines reality.
That's the idea. And, the quality of your life in many ways can depend more on the story you believe about yourself and what's possible.
Than just your external situation.
Right. And this applies collectively, too. The source brings up America as an example.
How so?
Well, the argument presented is that maybe American society has kind of adopted a self-defeating narrative sometimes, focusing maybe too much on historical wrongs.
Okay.
And there's a reference to Douglas Murray, who warns against pushing any group. And the source specifically points out white people here into feeling like they have to identify solely based on race.
Why is that dangerous?
Because historically, that kind of group identity politics,
Yeah.
it hasn't ended well. It really shows how powerful these narratives we choose are for individuals and whole societies.
That's a heavy point. So if our narratives shape how we see things, how does that connect back to beauty? Because that's what sparked this whole thing.
Right.
Is beauty just whatever culture says it is? Or is some of it baked in? Biological?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And this ad really threw it into sharp relief.
So what does the science or the biological argument say?
Well, it suggests certain features tend to be universally appealing. And the thinking is it's because of evolution, basically linking them to signals of fertility.
Like what kind of features?
Things like a certain hip-to-waist ratio, facial symmetry, secondary sexual characteristics like breasts in women.
Okay.
And here's the really crucial point the source makes. These traits are apparently seen as attractive in women from all kinds of backgrounds.
Not just white women, despite the ad controversy.
Exactly. It's not exclusively a Eurocentric thing, biologically speaking. Seems like there's a kind of common denominator, maybe, a biological constant under all the cultural variety.
Huh. Okay, but then what about things like, neck rings in some cultures or lip plates? Those are definitely culturally specific beauty ideals. How does that fit?
Great question. Culture absolutely does influence beauty standards. Those local preferences are real and fascinating.
So biology isn't the whole story.
Not at all. But biology seems to set some boundaries, maybe. Limits on what can be broadly considered attractive across the board.
Like a foundation that culture builds on.
Sort of. The source uses this hardwired metaphor. You can teach appreciation for local customs, sure, but there seems to be this core part of attraction that's harder to change completely through culture alone.
Okay.
And it's worth distinguishing too,
Yeah.
between things like body shape, which you can change to some extent,
Right. Through diet, exercise, or surgery.
and genetic stuff like eye color, which you can't change. And then there's stuff like how fat distribution in young women is linked to perceived attractiveness and fertility signals, which is partly genetic and changes with age.
Wow. Okay. So it's this complex dance between our biology and our culture.
Definitely.
But this whole ad reaction, it feels like it points to something else too. A bigger trend, maybe?
What do you mean?
Like this tendency now to see almost everything through a lens of oppression or eugenics or racism.
The interpretation overdrive.
Yeah. I mean, the idea that just showing a white woman with blue eyes automatically equals propaganda, it feels like a huge leap to a lot of people. Kind of absurd, almost.
It does highlight this trend of reading so much into media.
Yeah.
Sometimes, maybe, way more than is actually there.
Can that become a problem?
Well, yeah, it can get counterproductive, really divisive. The source actually critiques both sides here.
Both sides.
Yeah, those who maybe jump to see racism or eugenics under every rock, and those who get super defensive and immediately make it a culture war battle.
Instead of just talking about it.
Exactly. It calls for a more nuanced conversation. Less shouting, maybe?
Yeah.
About beauty, identity, culture, all that stuff.
And it warns about defining people by, like, collective guilt based on race.
Right. That idea of original sin tied to your background. The source points out how demoralizing those kinds of narratives can be.
It feels like we're losing the ability to just see an ad as an ad sometimes without piling on layers of historical baggage immediately.
That's a fair observation.
Right.
And speaking of how these things play out,
Yeah.
there's another angle here, a more cynical one maybe.
What's that?
It's about marketing. The source suggests that maybe,
Mm-hmm.
just maybe, some of these controversies aren't entirely accidental.
Wait, you mean like the companies know this might happen or
Yeah.
even want it to?
Well, think about it. Outrage gets clicks, it gets shares, it generates massive amounts of free publicity.
Any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, that seems to be the thinking sometimes. Companies might actually anticipate or even subtly court controversy to get everyone talking about their brand.
So American Eagle, they might have seen this coming.
It's possible they anticipated some kind of reaction, even if not the specifics. The source gives another example, that Let Her Cook campaign for the WNBA.
I remember that one.
Designed to provoke conversation, right? Even if some of that conversation was negative or critical, the attention itself was valuable.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like manufactured outrage as a marketing strategy.
It's a risky game for sure, but when it pays off, the attention is huge, way bigger than just running a standard ad.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what have we really unpacked here from this one ad?
Well, first, the incredible power of narratives. The stories we tell ourselves, personally and as a culture, they literally shape how we see the world, how motivated we are, how we feel about ourselves.
Yeah, that came through loud and clear. And the whole beauty standards thing.
Right, that fascinating mix of biology and culture. Some things really do seem hardwired across humanity when it comes to attraction.
But culture adds all the local flavor and complexity.
Exactly. And then there's the whole outrage economy.
How controversy itself can be a tool, something manipulated for attention, especially in media and marketing. We need to be aware of that.
Definitely. We also touched on identity, how complex it is, and the dangers of boiling people down to just their race or genetics, whether you're criticizing or praising them.
And how symbols, like blue eyes or blonde hair in this case, can get loaded with so much extra meaning in public debates, way beyond what they literally are.
Yeah, emotion and symbolism really drive a lot of public reaction. It's not always logical.
So for you listening, here's something to think about. Knowing all this about the hardwired bits of perception, the power of the stories we believe, and how controversies might even be intentional.
How does that change the way you look at things?
Yeah, how might it change how you engage with media? Or the stories you tell yourself? Or even how you perceive beauty in yourself and others?
What stories are you choosing to believe about yourself and about the world around you? Something to mull over.